Hey guys, this is Mistress Nightmare here, and I want to wish you guys a happy Valentine's Day. And also, we'll be reading chapter 5 of Forever Your Slender Man. Before we get started, please hit that like button, comment, subscribe to this channel if you guys want more creepypasta fanfictions out there. Until then, let's get started. Once they were through the meadow, they went to a small diner in a small town called Sumrest. It was only noon, and obviously they couldn't go back to school without getting caught for skipping classes. So the 40-minute drive to some rest wasn't unreasonable. Most of the drive was spent listening to Ash's strange collection of CDs that Allison had never heard of. They were mostly composed of August ballads and the occasional love song. Every once in a while, Ash would make a comment of the place that they were passing, or ask her a random question. Once Ash had asked her who was her first kiss had been. Allison's cheeks turned a bright color and flamed. "What are you so embarrassed?" Ash chuckled. "A little," Allison had said under her breath. Ash reached and grabbed Allison's tan hand. Her first reaction was to pull away, but after a moment she relaxed and allowed him to clutch her hand in a reassuring way. "Just tell me," he said quietly, in a smooth tone. Allison sighed. "All right. It was this boy named Josh," she finally confessed. "Why is that so embarrassing?" he questioned, his brow focusing as his thumb drew circles across the top of Allison's hand. "I just didn't like talking about it. It was a stupid thing to do. I liked him a lot, but the truth is that he was just like the other teenage boys that only wanted one thing." Generally concern flicked across Ash's sharp features. "He didn't try anything with you, did he?" he asked, almost sounding angry. Allison shook her head. "My friend Camille stepped in before he could." Allison went back to that night. It was a year ago, and it was a senior party. Camille had been cool enough to score an invitation somehow, and dragged her along. They were both freshmen at the time. It also had been the first time she had gotten drunk. Not long after they had first arrived at the party, Josh, who had been a junior at the time, had come up to them and handed them a red plastic cup filled with beer. The stuff tasted awful, but the effects were getting great. She had been incredibly happy after downing her first cup. It hadn't even noticed that Camille had left her alone with Josh. She was a little tipsy state. It hadn't been hard for him to get her alone in a room upstairs, and they were sitting on the bed. He made his first move. She had skipped the whole peck on the lips, really cute first kiss, and went straight out, shoving his tongue down my throat. She wasn't quite sure what she was supposed to do, but she also didn't want to pass the opportunity of ditching her status as the biggest freshman virgin to ever walk the halls of her high school, at least now that she could say that she kissed a boy. But Josh had been trying to tuck off her pants, and Camille had burst into the room, grabbing Allison by the hand and dragging her out of the house and back to her home. Josh never talked to her in any serious way again after that. Not like she really cared. After the little reflection in the car on her first kiss experience, she could compare kissing Ash. Maybe the alcohol had changed the experience, but hands down, Ash has been a lot better kisser than Josh. Her thoughts finally snapped back to the present as a glass of water pressed in front of her on the table as she and Ash shared in the small diner. She glanced to see Ash looking at her through where he was reading the secrets of the universe written on her flesh. "What?" she asked him self-consciously. He just shook his head and looked down, his dark hair falling into his dark eyes. "Are you sure you're not going to eat anything?" Allison questioned. He refused to get anything to eat or drink since they sat down, instead that he wasn't hungry. "I am being polite," he told her with a small smile. Allison just shrugged. "If you say so. So, if that was your first kiss, and this is your first time skipping class," Ash asked with a lifted eyebrow. "Maybe." Ash laughed. "You should really stick to reading your books and telling the truth. You're an awful badass," he stated. "Is that an insult?" Allison asked. "It's just a statement," Ash answered. Allison decided to abandon that subject. "So, do you have any siblings?" she asked, trying to learn more about this mysterious man. In truth, she was really curious. Being an only child, the aspect of siblings always amazed her. Ash didn't bat an eye to the question and said his answer is such nonchalance. "I had a brother a while ago, but he died." Allison was taken aback. He sounded so casual, as the thought of his brother didn't matter at all. "You don't seem to care about it," she said. Ash just shrugged. "It was a while ago. Eventually, time fades the pain. Oh, I'll get over it." Allison's heart ached for him. No one could ever lose their brother and not care. Even after the phases of the years, she suspected there's someone deep inside that he was still crying for his loss. "What about your parents?" she asked as her food arrived and bit into her large burger. She felt oddly being the only one eating, as she felt a little embarrassed about it, but she was so hungry not to eat. "What about them?" Ash answered. She just shrugged. "I don't know. I was just wondering about them. My dad is a deadbeat. My mom really didn't care about anything I found for myself," he said with a straight face, as he thought it expected it that way, only it could be that things couldn't be any happier if they were never to get any better. "I'm sorry," Allison said, not sure what else to say. "There's no reason to apologize for something that you are not at your fault." Allison glanced down. "I know, I just wish there was something I can do to help." "I don't need help," Ash snapped. "I'm fine." Allison could tell that he currently wasn't fine. Deep in those black eyes, and pain shone, just not for anyone could see. The conversation was light after that. She didn't try to pry into his personal life anymore, choosing to open a subject later on that time. "We probably should get going," Ash stated, as Allison was well done with her meal, and they were just sitting there talking for at least half an hour. With 40-minute drive, she would most likely get back later than she would go on regular school day. He dropped Allison off in the student parking lot so she could retrieve her car. She was getting out. He grabbed her by the waist and kissed her in the same passionate way they were in the small forest. She returned it with much vigor. "I had a great time," he whispered into her ear. "Me too," she said, closing her eyes with a small smile playing on her lips. "Have a nice night. I'll see you in first period tomorrow," he winked as she shut the door and walked to her vehicle. When she returned home, she was surprised to see her father up and about. He's usually sleeping. It was only about 4 o'clock, and he didn't have to be at work until 11:30 at the night. She wasn't expecting him to be up at least another hour. "Why so late?" he asked. Allison just shrugged. her keys into her purse. As she did so, me and Camille were just talking. For an hour? Allison nodded her head. Usually her father wasn't quite so suspicious, as she knew he rarely did anything to hang out with Camille. You better not be lying to me, Allie. I'm not. She swore she felt guilty, but with that she felt up the stairs into her room. She threw her purse into her bed and glanced into the mirror. She looked brighter than usual, most likely the result of being around Ash the entire day. She started thinking that she has misjudged him when she first met him. There was nothing wrong with him. He has just been the perfect gentleman all day. Why did she ever had any trouble with him in the first place? She glanced down at the side of her wrist. There was the throbbing again. Just recently, she just noticed a birthmark there. At first, she had thought it was a bruise, but over the past weeks, it had gone away. But it was growing in slightly. The throbbing had just started a few days ago, which was really odd. She wasn't sure whatever or not to say anything about it, but recently she decided to let it go. What harm could it really do?
Ash was driving on his way to his home. Well, it wasn't much of a home, more like a shack. He really couldn't afford accommodation not having a job. How he needed looking into one of those. He didn't really work in many years. The last time he had a job was probably in 1951, if you recall correctly. He had worked a stable boy for a rich family down south. It was an awful experience. The only reason he had done it was just cause the downfall to the little southern town, though. He grimaced at the thought. He hated to dwell on what had been done in his past. So many people that he killed. He glanced that it was all behind him now. He parked his car in the small garage, or the gravel driveway, not even bothering to lock the car. No one ever comes out here in the middle of nowhere, probably not even realizing the tiny house was up to steal items out of his car. If they tried, he was currently unable to stop them. Slamming into the small wooden door behind him, he walked in and flicked on the lights. Thank God there was actually electricity. That was one of the better inventions that he has seen in his life. He threw himself on the small bed, which was in the living room, simply because there was only one room apartment-like house. The living room, the bedroom, the kitchen were all in one. Not that he needed any of use of the kitchen. There was a small bathroom off on one wall, and one of the closets for his clothes. It was an awful place, but what wealth it could be close enough to be with Allison. He spent half of a decade searching for her. She was unique, and he had to find her. But her parents recently hidden her so well. He never thought he would be able to look in an actual place that she was born. Well, of course he had looked there, but that was the right after her birth. Her parents have taken away from the city, not even bothering a few hours after she was born. After that, he spent weeks looking for her, realizing that she was nowhere near here. He had left. What a brilliant idea to bring her back. After he had countlessly searched here, he had given her parents to prop. But he found her anyway. After all that, how he could not. She was the closest thing to what he himself was.
Hey, you made it to the end of the video. I'm glad. If you want more Ben Drown love stories, check out the playlist that will be popping up soon. Also, if you want any more fanfictions narrations, please check out my other channel, Reading with Blade, which has multiple fanfictions up already. If you are interested in the yaoi experience, check out Tyler O'Connell's channel if you want to go there. But note that channel is only 18 and up. I've been listening to Tyler's stories and I'm addicted to them. Until then, bye guys!